I don't know about you, but new journal time is like the most wonderful time of the year for me. I find that towards the end of any journal, when I'm getting into the last couple of spreads or pages, my motivation takes a nosedive. And getting into a new journal is that kind of fresh start feeling that I need to kind of get my mojo back. That is exactly what we are doing today, setting up our new journal, and by this I really just mean populating our new journal. The pages have actually already been set up in a separate setup video, but we're just going through all of those layouts and actually putting in the information I'm going to need to move into this new journal. I'm doing this process on the very last day of the month so that then, tomorrow, I can move into this new journal and it'll already be set up so I can hit the ground running. In this one, we're mainly going to be looking at my start of journal pages, so the things that happen before the monthly setup pages, but as part of the migration process, I do also go in and populate those as well. The first layout we're actually working on though is my future log. I am so much better at using my future log at the very start of my journal than I am at any other time while using my journal. So here I'm just using my current journal, the one that I've been using for the first part of the year, and taking any of the events or appointments that I have written in there for the months in my new future log and transferring those over. This gives me the opportunity to sift through and say, am I actually still doing all of these things? And also considering, is there anything else I need to add? Part of this process also involves going through my digital calendar because sometimes things will get recorded in there and not in my future log. I do also want to make sure that I look through the upcoming months of the year and considering any novel holidays that are coming up, things that I might want to celebrate, especially the food related ones, things like Donut Day, which is coming up in June, so I hope you're celebrating that one too. But once the future log was populated, it was time to flip on over to my 101 things list. Now this isn't the full 101 things list, it's more me trying to pull out some of the 101 things and assign them to the months that this journal will hold. I'm actually only planning for this journal to last until the end of August, but it was a little easier to divide the page into 4 rather than 3 and still have a good amount of space for everything. So I've also put September in here just for some future planning. My full 101 things list is actually contained in my yearly collections journal, so this is a separate notebook that I use for all of my yearly trackers and logs. From the full list though, I can go through and see which tasks would actually be suitable for the months ahead. For instance, I'm not going to celebrate my birthday if it's not my birthday month. And yes, celebrating my birthday is certainly on my 101 things list. If you weren't familiar with the 101 things list, it is kind of what it sounds like. So a list of 101 things that I want to do in the year. We've got smaller ones, we've got bigger ones, we've got ones that are fun and ones that are a little bit more admin based. One of the ones that I'm going to be completing in June is trying out a traveler's notebook, which makes sense because this is a traveler's notebook. I haven't tried one out before though, so that's why it's on the list. The list is just a way for me to experience new things, try things that I might have wanted to have tried for a while and just haven't gotten around to, or achieve little goals, that kind of stuff. I'm not mapping out completely in full all of the things that I want to do across all of the months, just because I might change my mind, I might add some more things onto my 101 things list. As you can see, I only actually have about 75 written into the list, so I've got about 25 more that I need to think of and add in. I don't give myself a lot of pressure to have the full list filled in before the year starts, because things come up, I might want to have a little bit of flexibility in my list to add in new fun things that I might think of. On the right hand side of this page though, there's another layout to fill in, and that is my self-care bingo board. Now, you may have seen these before. Oftentimes people do them monthly rather than for an entire journal, but I often find that if I'm doing it monthly, I just don't have a very good success rate with it. Usually if I do a self-care bingo board, it'll have either a 5x5 grid or a 4x4. And to actually have that many meaningful self-care things that I want to do, having the time frame of a month is just a little bit unreasonable for me. To make it more likely that I'd actually get some big ticket self-care things done, I decided to make the grid smaller, so just a 3x3, and increase the time span. So this is going to be across 3 months. And I'm hoping that I can get the full board filled in across those months. At current, I only have 5 of the 9 boxes filled in. I'm still giving myself a bit more time to think about it. But if you have any suggestions of big ticket self-care items that I could consider, I would love to hear about them. Self-care is something that I'm trying to prioritize more. I'm not very good at prioritizing it at the moment. And I also kind of want to avoid self-care tasks that feel like a reward, mainly because I actually want to reward myself for getting these self-care things done. At the bottom you'll see that I have sections written out as the full board, the first vertical, first diagonal, first horizontal. So I'm going to be assigning prizes to each of those. At the moment I can only think of the full board prize, which is doing a weekend getaway, but I need to think a little bit more about what I want those other rewards to be. Typically, I would just consider completing the self-care tasks to be a reward themselves. I don't think that's necessarily a great mindset to have, at least for me, so I wanted to try rewards out this time. Hopefully that helps. It's a little bit more of an incentive to actually get these things done. Most of the time when I set up these bingo boards though, I do like to add a little bit of visual interest, either with different lettering styles or maybe some kind of little doodly bits. So exactly what I've done here. To actually fill in whether I've done that task though, I'm just going to be colouring in that box. Probably in grey, considering that's the colour that I've used for the rest of my pen work in the setup, which means I had to be sure to use a pen that wasn't going to smear when I went over it with that marker. So I used the Tombow Fudenosuke to do all the black line work here. Now as that one is as filled in as I'm going to get it today, we are flipping on over and onto the Year of Planning page and the Friday Fun page. At this stage, I still haven't planned out what my Friday Fun posts are going to be, so we're not going to be filling in that one, but the Year of Planning does have its full prompt list already. You can see that one on screen here. If you're not sure what the Year of Planning is, it's a planning challenge that I've been running. So each week has a prompt that is about something that you could set up in your journal. For instance, a weekly schedule, or it could be lettering idea pages. Obviously, we're already almost half a year into this, but that does not mean that you can't get involved. If you wanted to jump on and take up the challenge, I've got a link in the description with more details. On this page though, I'm just writing out all of the post titles, and then the columns that are highlighted to the left of this are to track the things that I need to do before putting those prompts out. So things like making the post to post on Instagram or Facebook or wherever, making the caption, and then actually doing the posting. I figured that having it in a tracker like this would help me in terms of kind of batching tasks, rather than just doing one per week every week. For instance, taking a certain block of time and using it to do all of the pictures, and then taking another block of time and using it to write as many captions as possible. That kind of thing. As said, the Friday Fun page doesn't have anything to be written on it just yet, so it's time to flip over past the media page because I don't have anything to fill in there, and onto my savings pages. On the left, we've got a savings tracker, and on the right, we have a bills log. For the savings tracker, all I really have to do is go and write in the week numbers down the left-hand side of the bottom section. I also need to fill in the y-axis of my graph, or the one that goes up the page, the one labeled total savings, but that's something I'm going to do off camera. I also decided to write in the bills that I know happen every month, but I'm leaving the spaces for June, July, and August open so that I can fill those in as we actually get to those months, or rather as I get bills in those months. The general purpose of this page though was to give me more of an appreciation for when costs were coming in, just so I have a bit of a better picture of what to expect. The next spread after this is all related to housework and house projects. There's not a lot to fill in here just yet, except for the fact that we've done the grocery shopping. The left-hand page of this though is mainly a tracker for doing my housework tasks, while the space on the right-hand page is for projects that I want to work on. Originally it was just going to be home projects, but I'm probably going to expand on this to be other projects as well. The next spread is also one that I don't have to fill anything in on because it's for my next journal, and considering I haven't even really gotten into this one yet, I don't really need to fill out anything for my next journal just yet. After this though, we're getting into the border between my start of journal setup and my monthly setups, and this transition is marked by my monthly planning spread. I use this layout to plan my setups for each of the months that are in this journal, so things like planning out the theme in terms of colour palette, also listing out the spreads that I want to include, and on the left of each section writing down a couple of notes about the general aesthetic, or putting in an example of the font that I want to use. Notably, June is already set up, but typically I would fill in this page before I set up the month, kind of as a mood board or a swatch board to show what kind of things I want to include in the setup itself. It's not the most necessary page to have in your journal, but I do find it's helpful, especially if I get to a midpoint in the month and I think to myself, oop, in next month's setup I really want to have a page dedicated to tracking my book reading or something like that. This page just gives me somewhere that I can write that idea down, so when I come to set up for that month, I've got those ideas all in one place. After this one though, we're straight into my June setup pages, which also need populating, but that is a future me problem. Having a little flip through of what we filled in today, as said, I really like the kind of fresh start feeling that I get with a new journal, so I'm very hoping that this gives me that kick of motivation that I need to make the most of the period ahead. If you wanted to check out more of my migration videos, we do have the playlist in the top left, or if you wanted to see how I set this journal up in particular, the video in the bottom is for you. Click or tap on either of those and I'll see you over there.